I am pleased to introduce our speaker today. Dr. Joanne Bokarowski received her doctoral degree in clinical psychology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She's currently Associate Professor of Psychology and Director of Undergraduate Studies in the College of Arts and Sciences at Vanderbilt University. Her research is broadly concerned with vocal communication and focuses on the production and perception of speech acoustics, emotional speech, and laughter. The approach she takes to her work falls at the intersection of clinical, social, and cognitive science, and may have been inspired in part by her mother always telling her she laughed too loudly. Like many of us, Joanne was excited to witness the solar eclipse earlier this summer. Unlike many of us, Joanne slept right through it. Please welcome Joanne Bokarowski.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Okay.
You see that okay?
I can. Okay. I apologize for sitting. I've got some crazy knees, so we're just going to go with this. So I've studied laughter, and you don't do science alone usually, and I've done this with a number of people, and most of their names are here now. I became interested in laughter as a fluke. I was studying infant-directed speech of depressed mothers and studying other motivationally significant sounds. And my colleague Michael Overn and I said, hey, let's study laughter. And it blew into this. We've been studying it now for over 15 years. And it's been really exciting, really fun. It's fun to do the science side of it. And it's also perhaps more fun to do the life side of it. We laugh a lot. Let me see if I can... we laugh a lot, and unfortunately our sounds don't work, but we've had enough laughter going on here that you know you're familiar with the sound. And I'm just curious as to some of what your thoughts are on why we produce this kind of odd acoustic sound. Why do you think we laugh?
We get tickled.
We get tickled? We laugh when we're tickled, both emotionally, right?
Yes.
And also physically?
It's a release.
Laughter is a release from tension? What? It's a form of communication. It's like, but then the question becomes, what are we communicating when we produce this sound? Other ideas? We laugh when we think something's funny, right?
Or when we have joy.
When we're feeling joy, when we're feeling happy. We sometimes laugh when we're sad, right? A little bit of emotional crosstalk sometimes. When we're embarrassed. Okay, good. So I'm going to introduce you to some of our thoughts on laughter, which is a little bit of a different spin. So typically when we think about laughter, we think that we're communicating something about our internal state to other people. And I think that's right a good part of the time. But what I'm interested in is what's the function of that sound? Like, what is the sound doing when we produce it? And what we think is that laughter is working, that it's functioning, by actually eliciting emotional states in the people who are hearing it. And so essentially, let me just backtrack a second. When you think about sounds like infant crying and sirens, these are sounds in our environment that can readily grab our attention. They elicit emotion-related arousal, and they make us feel a certain emotional state. And we think the same thing actually happens with laugh acoustics. And the kind of prosaic idea is that if we can produce a sound that makes other people feel good, they're going to be more likely to want to be around us and behave more positively to us. So the kind of bottom line with all of this is that we think laughter works to help us form relationships with other people, and especially helps us to maintain those relationships with other people. And that the big umbrella is that this is a non-conscious strategy of social influence that we have, of kind of shaping our environment in a way that works to our advantage. So maybe, I don't know where I'm, okay. So when we study laughter in a lab, you might think, how can you study laughter in a lab? It's such a spontaneous signal. But it turns out that people are really primed to laugh, and you can do pretty much anything. And they'll come in and they'll, work through your paradigms, and they will laugh. And so some of the ways that we've collected laughter is to have people watch film clips. We also have people engage in what we tell them is social problem solving. So we never tell people, hey, come on into lab, we're going to record you while you laugh. It wouldn't go anywhere very fast. So instead, we tell them that we're studying social communication or social problem solving, and they can wear their mics, and they don't know that the direct focus of what we're studying is on laughter. And so then I just want to show you, I'm really into the sounds, the properties of sounds. And so when I study laughter, this is what it looks like to me. So I see waveform and spectrographic representations, and then down at the bottom you can see all these little marks. And what I do is I acoustically analyze what's happening in the sound of laughter for each of those intervals between the marks. And that slide there represents an entire laugh bout or an entire laugh episode. And for those of you who know about sound, this is a really acoustically complex sound. It's got really fascinating features going on with it. And then what we found in our research, we have a repertoire of laughs, and I think that the variety of laughs that we have is actually really important. If we laugh the same way all the time, it wouldn't have its impact because it wouldn't be, would habituate to it, would get used to another person's laugh sound. And so we have to kind of have some variety. One of the things that we found is that in this whole repertoire of sounds, like in all our snorts and chuckles and giggles and guffaws and all the words that we have to describe laughter, there are two primary kinds of laughs. And one of those is voiced laughs. And voiced laughter is really what we typically think of with laughter. It's very tonal. It's what's called a periodic sound, and an example of a laugh call or a laugh syllable that's voiced is on the top part of this, that top waveform. And what you can see is that the periodic sounds has recurrent intervals towards it. It's tonal in nature. And then the second kind of laugh category that we think is really important and that actually comprises most of our laughter is unvoiced sounds. And these are basically acoustically noisy. So if a person kind of grunts without any tonality, or if they snort but you clearly recognize it as a laugh sound, that would be an unvoiced sound. And so one of the things that we've done, I can flip through this, one of the things that we've done is to see how do people use those different kinds of sounds, these voiced and unvoiced sounds, in different social circumstances. And I'm just going to go through some of the findings that I think we found that are particularly interesting. We've looked at how people laugh in particular social contexts. So we have males come into lab and they're tested with other males or they're tested with another female. They may know each other or they may not know each other. So we've got friends and strangers and combinations of the two sexes. And what we have found over and over, we've done many studies now, we have never found, despite the stereotype, that women laugh more than males do. But what we have found is that there are really interesting sex differences that can emerge when we look at who our social partner is or whether or not we know our social partner. And the bottom line to all this is that males kind of do more with their laughter. They laugh more, they produce more acoustically extreme laughs when they're partnered with a friend, especially when they're with a male friend, and that females do more with their laughter when they're partnered with a male, and it could be a male stranger or a male friend. And we can think about some of the reasons why we might have these sex differences. And then just one specific example of these findings, this figure is a little bit complicated, but on the left 5 bars we have results for a particular acoustic measure, high fundamental frequency or high-pitched laugh sounds that are produced by males. And then on the right side, we have the same results produced by females. And if you just look at the left side of the graph, you can see there are 2 bars that really kind of pop out. And one of the very high bar there on the left represents the number of these very high-pitched sounds that were produced by males when they were tested with a male friend. And then the next lower bar is the number of these sounds that were produced by males when they were tested with a female friend. What's also interesting to me is that if you look at the results for males and for females, on the open bar to the left of each of those groups of bars, you see a kind of low number. Those are the number of these sounds that were produced when the person was alone. So this is inherently a social signal that we have. Even though the circumstance is very funny, at least in this lab situation, when people are alone, they're very unlikely to produce these kind of acoustically extreme sounds. We kind of save that for when we're with someone else. And then just on the right-hand side, the results aren't as extreme for females, but the 2 bars that are popping out for the females represent data for when they're being produced, the number of sounds that they're producing when they're with a male friend or with a male stranger. So they're doing more with males, whereas the males are doing more with a friend. So a few conclusions coming from this and other studies that we've done is that laughter really is a repertoire of sounds. And so I have to ask myself, is the fact that we have this repertoire functionally important? And there are hints that the answer is yes, that the kinds of laughs we produce depends upon our sex and interaction with the social partner that we find ourselves with, and then whether or not we know our social partner. So we wanted to test this functional distinction between voiced and unvoiced laughter. So we did a series of perception studies, and this is where people come into a sterile lab environment and they hear like disembodied laugh sounds over headphones. And they are asked to make ratings of these sounds. And in this first series of studies, we just wanted to see, first of all, do the sounds have an impact on listener emotional states? That's a real key point for us theoretically, right? That we're saying that the function of these sounds is in driving emotional states in others. So we had to be a little bit clever. We didn't want to just say, hey, does this laugh make you feel good? So we asked people that question, but we also asked around it. We asked, how sexy does this laugher sound? Is this a good laugh to include in a laugh track? How interested would you be in meeting the person who produced these sounds? We asked these different questions. And what's really interesting is that no matter what question we ask, you get essentially the same statistical outcomes, that people rate more positively these voiced laughs than they do the unvoiced laughs. And what that suggests, that despite the question that you're asking people about the sounds, is that there's really something special about the acoustic properties of this voiced laughter that seem to drive a positive emotional response in people. So this voiced laughter that we produce, our stereotype laugh, is a really good thing in terms of the impact that it has on other people. And then this is just another jumbled figure of outcomes. But if you look, it's just essentially repeating the same general pattern of outcomes. On the left in each of these figures are the results for voiced laughter, and on the right, within each figure, are the results for unvoiced laughter. And the ratings are much more positive for voiced than unvoiced laughter. There's a really interesting thing. People especially don't like unvoiced laughs produced by females. I know. Do you know? I love a good snort, and we have, in all my time in all the studies that we've done, we've never had someone come in and do that inhale kind of snort, the kind that when you're rolling on the floor laughing with friends and this like kind of pig-like sound. We haven't gotten that. I think that's the only laugh sound we're kind of missing in the repertoire. So again, the idea is that since we get these similar outcomes across studies, that some common response system is being activated in our brain centrally from these voiced sounds. And then we've done other studies to show that not only are unvoiced laughs preferentially kind of disliked in comparison to voiced laughter, but if you just hear them in this disembodied way over headphones, a lot of people rate them as especially aversive sounding. And yet they're like 2/3 of our laugh repertoire, so it really kind of begs the question of, well, if this doesn't kind of work emotionally, why do we have these sounds? And we don't have a clear answer to that question yet. Okay, so just putting this all together, laughter is a highly variable vocal signal. The amount of laughs that we produce and the kind of extreme acoustic properties vary with our sex and with our social partner. And that variability in laughter we're finding is functionally important. And then the big summary statement is that we think that laughter is a tool to elicit emotion and thereby shape the behavior of the listener towards the laughter. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you. I think, yeah, Brenda, did you?
I did. I just want to make sure I understand the difference between voiced and unvoiced.
Sure.
Laughter. Can you demonstrate?
I'll try. Okay. That was voiced. Thank you. Now you're going to make me do a snort. Okay. It's very hard for me to fake unvoiced laughter coming through my throat, but if you do, that would be an unvoiced laugh.
Like a snicker.
A snicker, yeah, Snickers go both ways. I'll try to do an unvoiced grunt. Maybe if I do it with my mouth closed, something like. So it's like it's in my mouth instead of through my throat. Yeah.
So were all of these studies done where there was no visual, it was strictly audio?
We have videotape data of people too.
Was it video of the ones making the noise?
Yes.
Okay, because I was wondering if the unvoiced laughter is dependent upon visual cues in order for.
Yeah, I haven't done that amount of detail in analyzing the videotape data. What I think of the unvoiced laughter as, and this is just, it's not a very sciencey term, but I think about it as social glue. So that you're kind of in an ongoing interaction, and you may not feel especially happy yourself, but yet you need to tell your partner that you're still engaged with them. And I think that's a lot of it. I think it's also associated with a low emotion-related arousal on the part of a laughter. They're just kind of there. I think we also use laughter in ways that we don't even think about. Like really, like after today, I encourage you to, just for a day or two, watch people laugh. It's really remarkable. But we use laughter to punctuate sentences. We use laughter to indicate, I've had enough of this right now, I need to leave you. And we just find we're finding a way to like cut it off without saying enough. So there's all these like different ways that we use it, and I don't have a good sense. So I just lump it all into social glue right now.
I feel like, just on a personal anecdotal level, that I would laugh more like a voiced laughter with people who you don't know very well.
Huh.
So it's sort of like that's my controlled laugh and more musical laugh. And then with your really, really, really close friends and family, you can go more into the unvoiced, like ridiculous sound.
Yeah.
Because you're like more safe space.
I would almost go with the opposite, except that I think women can get away with voiced laughter in more circumstances than men. So, for example, the example that comes to mind is if you go into a bar and think about a male going into a bar, they've never been there before, and a female going into a bar, they've never been there before. So people don't know them. If the female is there and a male comes up to her, she can totally get away with producing a voiced laugh. It could be flirty, whatever it is. She can do that acoustic sound, and it's okay. If a strange male was to approach that same female and produce this like high-pitched, voiced laugh, the female would be like, "Get away from me." It's like too much acoustic information, Yeah. And then with family, I agree with you that all bets are off. Yeah.
I think of laughter as one of the few sounds that babies know right out of the womb. You'll see an infant laugh, you'll see them cry, and there's a couple sounds in between, but those two are like universal.
Close to, yes to universality. One of the coolest findings, there was this guy, Ibelsfeld, an anthropologist, who documented 2 instances of babies who were born both deaf and blind, and they started laughing at the same age as sighted and hearing kids. So this is an innate sound. It is. It's just, and it comes online at about 4 months of age. So crying, we know, is the first sound, right? But laughter comes on a little bit later, which makes sense. If it's going to have an important role socially, it's once the infants become socially engaged that you can expect to start to see the sound.
Difference at the infant level between different cultures. I mean, as we age, different cultures encourage different laughter. But at the infant level, is there really much difference across cultures?
We don't know the answer to that. I would love to do some cross-cultural work. I would love to. One of the questions in my head is I'm really fascinated by island culture, where people are really dependent on each other, whether they actually use laughter more than urban culture, non-island situations. Yes?
You talked about the study in terms of like a disembodied voice. Have you ever gone back and then had the same people listen to the same sounds
that they
Will it
made.
see the person that made the sound?
No, because we just, the reason that we haven't done that, that's an interesting question. The reason we haven't is that we just want to see, just with the sounds, what are they getting? There's a finding, we haven't published this yet, but I'm so excited about this. So I said voice laughter is special, right? So there's a reflex called the postauricular reflex. It's this really evolutionary ancient reflex that's actually behind your ears. What it does in other animals is it pulls your ears forward, and we just have it as what's thought to be a more vestigial, kind of leftover remnant reflex. But it seems, this postauricular reflex seems to be more likely to occur when a person is genuinely feeling positive. And what we have found, ta-da, not published data, is that we are much more likely to get a postauricular reflex response to voiced laughter than to unvoiced laughter. So there's something about this sound that just goes right to the heart of an emotion-related response.
So the reason I was asking is because you said that it's such a social tool.
Yeah.
And so if you see that other person, you're more likely to be engaged with them.
Absolutely. And I think you get even more, and I think that, I think that's absolutely worth doing. And just once we know more about the sound itself, how listeners are responding, then we can do that. We're doing some studies now. I've kind of broadened from laughter alone to something that I call social emotional expertise, and trying to figure out, how some people are just so darn good at their social emotional, their interactions with other people, and other people struggle with that more. And laughter is going to play a key part in that. And what we're going to do in those studies is have people, we're going to record them and do all that. Then we're going to have them come back in and rate themselves, and also have strangers rate them. So we'll be able to get a handle on exactly what you're asking. Yes?
I'm just curious, why do you think women don't laugh as much with other women?
That baffles me. That may be I know the female thing. I think people think that males don't laugh because males are inherently competitive with each other, and especially with male strangers. And I think that is the case, and I think that's why males use laughter so much, is that they need to give a mark or a signal like, hey, I'm friendly, I don't think that women have to rely on that quite as much, and I think there may be something about the lab environment that's stifling that. So remember that most of these women didn't know each other. If they're with so I really don't have, gosh, I go out with my friends and we laugh, yeah. It might, that's right. Yeah, and if you ask a college student to bring a friend to lab, it could be someone that they found walking across a quad. Like, I'll buy you coffee if you come do this thing with me. So, yeah.
I have two questions. One, a lot of your results were based on sex.
Mm-hmm.
Does sexual orientation change any of that?
We don't know that either.
Okay.
I don't know what I suspect. I suspect it doesn't all that much, because some of the bio-based influences that drive sexual behavior in terms of how, like the danger that a strange male poses to a female, even in a safe environment, it's there. Right. So I think that a lot of the findings that we see will continue to be there, but we, in the early studies in which we collected laughter behavior, we didn't ask about sexuality.
Okay. And my second question is, why do we laugh when we think something is disgusting or ridiculous? When we read something on Facebook and be like, that person is, and we laugh because
Yeah.
like scoff.
It is a scoff. I think it's like the absurdity of it.
Yeah, it's just
Like, why do I laugh at Trump? I just... Sorry, I apologize to anyone I offended. That's good. Karen, you got a joke up there. But I think there's something like disarming to, like, some people who study, I don't study humor, right? I study laughter. Some people who study humor focus on like a cognitive disconnect. And I think that's part of what we see when we see something disgusting, like especially if it's unexpected.
It's kind of dismissive.
Yeah.
Like if someone says something ridiculous,
Yeah, we did this.
get away from it.
Yeah. And we may have that. There may be categorical distinctions between ick sounds and laugh sounds, but right now they're just, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a defensive thing. Like when you see this, it's a kind of defensive is like that's your reaction to it.
Yeah. And that's a disgust. Disgust is like, repulse it. And that's what the original infant disgust thing is, to like spew food. Mm-hmm.
It said your studies led you into seeing how laughter is used perhaps to actually shame other people. Like where people get together to laugh at someone else.
Yeah, there's a colleague of mine who studied that in this brilliant paradigm. So what he did, he collected the data at the University of Wisconsin, which has a big frat environment. He collected the data with all guys at the time. And in the fraternity system, there's a social hierarchy of dominant versus non-dominant guys. Like the pledges are losers, they're just kind of beat up on socially. And what he did was measure derisive laughter. And he had people, like he'd have a table of 4 guys. They all knew each other. 2 guys were socially dominant, 2 guys were socially subordinate, and he had them all make up nicknames for each other. And the nicknames that the senior guy, the dominant guys made up for the subordinate guys were just brutal. They were just, oh my gosh. And then the laughter that accompanied it. My question is that we see such an incredible repertoire of sounds when people are saying that they all feel good, that we don't know whether there really is a categorical distinction between that sound and whether derisive laughter fits right in there. I think we know it when we see it, but I think a lot of our knowing it, this is another piece of our theoretical context that I haven't talked about today, but a lot of the interpretations that we make of laughter has to rely on whether or not we know the person and the overall context in which it's occurring. And so I'd love to do those studies where you get laughter in what we think about as categorically distinct situations. So when a person is being mocked, how are they laughing? When a person's being derisive towards another, what's their laughter like? Anxious laughter is another one. Happy laughter. So there's these things that we think about as being different kinds of laughs. But I don't know acoustically if they're different or not, and whether we're just making inferences from the context in which they're produced. So I think it's a really worthwhile question to ask. My gut is that I don't think that there's these sounds don't have meaning in the sense that language, it's not referential. So that when you produce a laugh, you can't interpret it other than what you're doing cognitively, given you heard the sound and here's the context in which it was produced. It's not like language when we can pull out what the referents are and know that there's meaning to the word aside from the letters that make up the word. I don't think that laughter has those referential properties. But whether we, apart from a high versus low emotional arousal state, whether we really have categorical distinctions is an unknown question at this point.
I think we have to wrap up there on a note of derision. Joanna,
thank you.
Questions after? Can they come?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, the hat's still going around for the jokes. I would just like to give a special shout out to all the women in the audience who have laughed at my jokes, because we're creating a statistical anomaly here that I cherish. Oh, yeah, I'll grab the clicker. We're moving on to the moment of silence today, and I'm going to hope this clicker works, because I put together a pretty slideshow for you. So the last time we were together in this room, it was summer. We had just said our goodbyes to Hurricane Harvey. Irma was bearing down on Florida. We were still processing Charlottesville. And it's fall now, even though it doesn't feel like it yet. I'm wearing a short skirt today. I didn't realize that till I sat down. I was like, oh, short. And I got applause for it? Landry, stop it. I'll see you after, sir. So we've seen some things since we were last together in this room. Maria, Las Vegas, Nate's barreling down. Even Tom Petty dying was a kick in the gut. But our theme this month is laughter. So the question is, really? This isn't the time for frivolity, right? I mean, I have spent a not insignificant amount of time this month curled up on my couch trying to compartmentalize my despair. I scream at the TV a lot. I know I am not alone in this, am I right? But all that does is raise my blood pressure and freak out my son. Where is the humor in this? Where on the Venn diagram of disasters and destruction and politics and death and anger and helplessness does laughter fit? Where is the overlap? Well, my friends, it is hard to see it, but it is there. Every day, in surprising ways, it is there. Syrian refugee camp in northern Greece. Meet Clowns Without Borders. Westboro Baptist whack jobs. Meet some very clever sign makers. And for good measure, meet cosplay Jesus, too. Yeah. Former Equifax CEO Richard Smith. Meet rich Uncle Pennybags from Monopoly. He was really there while the dude was testifying. That was amazing. Police in riot gear before a Black Lives Matter protest. Have a free hug. I included this because it's incongruous and may elicit some uncomfortable laughter, but that does not make the message less sincere. In fact, it may make it even more potent. Let's be clear, there are not good people on both sides, but there are good people with sassy signs. Can you? I prefer the other White Walkers. Or maybe a tuba player drowning out goose steps is more your tempo. Hurricane Harvey? Meet Texas. The sign, can you read those? Oh. Let me go back. It says open until the letters fall off the sign. And Ben & Jerry's says, Harvey, kiss our cookie dough. Do you see what I mean? The world is a messy, horrific goat rope, new term I learned, goat rope of a place. There are babies listening, people, I'm not going to swear. But the darkest places are the ones that need the light the most. Laughter isn't the sideshow, it's the skylight. It's often the first precarious step towards clear-headedness, towards solidarity, and towards healing. And with that in mind, I decided to make our moment of silence a moment of defiance instead. The world needs our anger and our passion and our stubbornness and our voices, absolutely, but it also needs grace through laughter. My husband, David, tells the story of his grandmother who had just passed away in the hospital. His close-knit family gathered around her bed saying their goodbyes. And from the body of this kind and generous woman came forth the unmistakable bellow of a glorious bout of flatulence. A little light drives away the darkness. So let's take this moment to bid farewell to this flatulating corpse of a month. Think of a moment from your own life when laughter kept darkness at bay. And think of how you can use laughter to drive away someone else's darkness. Take a moment of defiance. This is exactly what I'm talking about, people.
on the violin. First timer with the band. Welcome, welcome. Jessica Tincher.
At least once during every service here, my face makes that ugly, like you're not gonna cry, hold it in face, you know what I'm talking about? That was that moment for me. Oh God. All right, it's joke time. Let's make that smooth transition. I'm gonna choose 3 names from the hat, and you will come up here. We'll line you up. I will bring a microphone to your face. And each of you will tell your joke. And then at the end, we will have... Oh my God, I just killed someone. And then we will have an applause contest, right? So whoever gets the most applause wins a free lunch. Is that for today, Brenda? Free lunch today? Sure, Brenda says. Free lunch today. All right, so here we go. 3 people. Oh, I thought you were warming up for your joke. Terry, come on down, Terry. Steve Vogue. Is that Vogue? Am I saying it right? Steve. Excellent. Brenda. Should I just pull this off? No, I should not. Terry, how are you? I'm good. Where are you from? Nashville. Terry from Nashville. All right, Terry. Regale us.
Okay. In the interest of brevity, and because we have a lot of Shakespeare lovers in the audience, I'm going to tell my Shakespeare joke, which is, who is the greatest chicken killer in Shakespeare? Macbeth. He did murder most foul.
I've been mulling over several jokes in my head. I'm just going to give you a quick one like she did. What do you call a nun in a wheelchair? Virgin Mobile.
I am not known for brevity. This joke will not be brief. Okay, so this farmer's walking by a farm, and he sees a 3-legged pig. And there's this other farmer there with the pig. And he says to the farmer with the pig, he says, "My goodness, that's an interesting pig you got there." And the other farmer says, "Oh, yeah, that pig, you wouldn't believe it, but that pig saved our lives one night. Barn caught on fire, pig ran up to our back door, got in the house, woke us all up. Saved our lives." "Wow, that is an interesting pig. That's pretty special." "Yeah." I told you it wasn't brief. "Yeah, and then one day, my wife, she lost her diamond ring in the garden. Guess who found it? That pig. That pig found it." The other guy says, "Well, my goodness, that's a very interesting pig. Now, tell me, why the 3 legs?" And the farmer says, "Well, now, when you got a pig as special as that one, you don't want to eat it all at once."
All right, everybody. Get your hands ready. Terry, murder most foul. Steve, Virgin Mobile. Brenda, 3-legged piggy. I think we have a winner. Steve, congratulations. You can see Brenda about your lunch. She's your contact. Thank you, everyone.
Wait, Terry.
Is this because people laugh more?
I think that's exactly right.
I actually already paid, so I'm
I'll take the free lunch. You are the free lunch. Thank you.
Okay, so before I dive into announcements, Lori's going to come up here and talk to you about, there she is, and talk to you about our whole passing the hat process. Here you go, Lori.
Yes. I'm going to repeat something I said, and this time I'm doing it as a call and response. Wherever 2 or more are gathered, there are expenses. We're going to practice it. Wherever 2 or more are gathered, there are expenses. There you go. We have things like insurance, the venue rental, all this stuff. Something I want to mention this time too is all of the donations collected here stay here in Nashville. So this is to support this local organization so we can, as a group, keep the entire network strong. So the entire organization is run by volunteers. Nobody here gets paid. There's a few ways you can give. One is, if my hat passers will stand up, thank you very much. You can give today by just putting something in the hat. We also have Tanya, where's Tanya? They're in the back here that can take a donation by card. We also have the website where you can go on and you'll see many of us here have these green name tags. This is for those who have signed up to give sustaining memberships, so they can give a little bit every month. If you're in a position to give 20 or 30 a month, that's great. If you're in a position to give $5 a month, that's great too. So right now we have a total of about 14 people and couples who have these green name tags. I would like to issue a challenge to get that up to 20 by next month. Any takers for that? So we can have a rate. If you'll say, I'll consider it, I'll maybe think about it. Can we get up to a few more people next month? Good, got one over there. So yes, great. Yeah, woo! Because this, even at $5 a month, it's a huge help. And then on a particular month, if you can do more, you can also put some in the hat. But one reason we do the green name tags is you may be sitting in a row, people have green name tags, and the hat goes by and nobody's putting anything in. And you wonder, why are these people being so stingy? They're not stingy. They give electronically and automatically. And I also want to give a big shout out to the people who give in so many other ways with their time. We have crafts for the kids every Sunday. The rest of us don't see that, but there are people who donate things and time. And a huge thank you for all donations in whatever way you choose to help us stay around. Thank you very much.
Brenda wanted me to announce that there are a few more lunch tickets available for this afternoon. So if anyone was on the fence about it, go tackle Brenda afterwards. We have a whole bunch of events coming up, but I'm not, so, you know, can anyone here not read? Landry again. So in your program, you have a long list of events. So let your program be your life coach for the next month. You have an announcement?
I do.
All right. Do you want to come down and talk on the microphone?
I'm loud enough.
Oh, yeah, you are loud. Wow. Okay.
I don't have the ability to put this on the Sunday Assembly website, but it is on the Nashville Atheists. We have brought back Bowling with the Heathens. So bowling this coming Wednesday, the 11th, and the 25th. Donaldson Bowl, 6:30. It's Wednesdays. Every other Wednesday.
Most excellent. Sunday Assembly members host small group meetups, which they call smoops. Isn't that adorable? Smoops. Georgia and Stephen host middle ground potlucks. The Cooks host beer and books. And Thanksgiving. We're already talking about Thanksgiving, but they're hosting it. Nicole and Teresa are hosting an all fun and games smoop. There's a fall camping and bonfire extravaganza, and now we have a choir, so clear your calendars. Nothing else matters but smoops and bonfires, people. Smoops and bonfires. And choir. You can join the meetup group online to learn more, to RSVP, to be cool like everyone else. Any other announcements? Yes, Patrick. Oh, he's got a slide. Oh, my gosh.
The theme of laughter. Just want to invite everybody on the 17th, which is Tuesday week. We're going to have Roy Zimmerman. If you guys, who here has heard Roy Zimmerman before? He's awesome. He's hilarious. He's one of the best secular songwriters out there, and he's going to be joining us at the Little Branch Gallery, which is Kelly and Kathy Maxwell's place here in town. So it's on Meetup. Come check it out, and come laugh some more. Thanks.
So we've come to the near end of my time with you. Stop it. I do hate giving up a hot mic. I get that a lot. I am so grateful for the time I get to spend in this room with these people. If you are new this month, please come back because it's just a great spot. And not once have I come to a service carrying the weight of the month that I have just lived and not laughed. I don't think you can have Sunday Assembly without laughter. I go so far as to say that after food and shelter and love, laughter is life. It doesn't fix everything, but it is a mighty fine start. How do you live better? Through laughter. How do you help often? Bring joy through laughter. How do you help people wonder more? Tell a joke and walk away. A hamburger walks into a bar. Bartender says, "I'm sorry, but we don't serve food." Fuck. I give you the unnamed Assembly Band, Sternberg out.